You've heard that Medicare Part D has a $2,000 annual cap. What does that mean? Well, first of all, if you're watching this video in 2025, the first year that we have the cap is, in fact, $2,000. If you're watching it in 2026, the cap is $2,100, and it will go up every year. So for 2025, you will pick a drug plan. It'll either be a standalone drug plan or you'll have a drug plan embedded in your Medicare Advantage plan. They're both going to operate under the same rules. They both have the $2,000 max. The key to understanding here is that your drug plan only covers certain drugs. It's like a list of drugs, list of ingredients, and those are the only ones that are subject to the $2,000 cap. So since the drug companies were not excited about this $2,000 cap, the insurance companies did not like this $2,000 cap, they shortened the list of drugs that they cover. So that will probably keep increasing every year, that it gets a little bit slimmer. So I've had people say, okay, I understand the $2,000 cap, and I take enough drugs that I'll stay under the cap. But I would like to position myself in the future so that I'm not on a slim plan, so that if I do get sick, I'm on a plan that covers a lot of drugs. This is called a formulary in the industry. So I want to plan with a big formulary. So that's kind of a hard thing to strategize about, but I like your thought process. And you can do that. The shortcut is pick the most expensive plan. Those are called enhanced plans. The most expensive standalone drug plan will have the biggest list of drugs. Now, it still doesn't guarantee that if you get cancer, it's going to cover your expensive cancer drug. There's still no way to make sure that's going to happen because you have no way to know what drugs you would have to take to pick which plan. So you pick whichever plan based on the drugs you're taking now. And then, fingers crossed, you don't need to take a drug that's not on your list. When it's not on your list, I have a lot of solutions for you, because otherwise you're going to just be paying straight up cash for any drug that's not on the list covered by your drug company. Now, of course, you can appeal and you can say, please approve this drug. Sometimes they do. It's not common, okay? But you do have that procedural process of appeal available to you. In most cases, they're not going to cover it, and you are on your own. And I go into it in my book, how to use the pharmaceutical companies, the drug companies' patient assistance programs, PAPs. They're all different. They have different rules, different income limits. Some will allow you to apply and get your drugs free or nearly free, even if you're on a Medicare drug plan. Some you can't be on a Medicare drug plan. They're all different. All the different drug companies have a different plan. They do change them from year to year. So I put the information, their contact information, everything in my book. You might want to use drug discount cards. Most people have heard of GoodRx. They've done a fantastic job of getting their little cards, their advertisements at every pharmacy in America. If you don't know, there are many other drug discount cards as well. And GoodRx is basically the go-to if you're already on a kind of a cheap drug. But if you're taking more expensive drugs, you probably want to look at some of the other drug discount cards. Single Care, Needy Meds, there's a whole bunch of other ones also listed in my book. And you can always go to other countries to get your drugs. So a lot of people go to Canada, especially people that are on the border, close enough within a drive of Canada or within a drive of Mexico. They just take a cruise every year and they plan on going to Belize or Honduras and getting their medications. My sister used to go to India. Her husband was Indian, but still, they would go to India to get inhalers for my nephew because they were $6 there and they were $600 here. Paid for the whole trip. So there's a lot of different options when your formulary doesn't cover your drugs. So let's say I have a Part D plan and it starts, this is clean, if it starts in January, at the very beginning of the year. Okay, I have the first 3 months of the year that I could change my insurance plan, but only if I have a Medicare Advantage plan with the drug benefits built in. If I just have a Medicare supplement with a standalone drug plan, you can't change that. Once I signed up in January, I'm locked into that drug plan for this calendar year. And I start getting the calls every year. It's generally about March or April. And they say, hey, You told me that my drug was covered on this formulary by this insurance company, and I just got a letter and it's no longer covered. What's up with that? They can do that at any time. I said, you are locked in. You're locked into this plan for 12 months, a calendar year. But the drug insurance company is not locked into that at all. They have to give you 30 days notice, and they can say, yeah, we don't really want to cover that drug. Or they can say, we will cover your drug, but it's going to cost you more. And then you're going to say, well, the reason I bought this plan is because you covered my drug, or because you covered it at a lower price than the competitor. You don't have any recourse for that. That's just how it's built. It's a flawed system. You're locked in, they're not. So when you get that letter, which is not going to come for your cheap drugs, right? It's going to come for your expensive drugs. You have to know what's your next step to how to get that drug, to get some assistance paying for that drug. So if I'm on a Medicare Advantage plan and it started in January, and I can switch it one time every year during the first 3 months of the year, that's called the open enrollment period. You're familiar with the AEP, the annual election period. Most people have never heard of the OEP. During that first 3 months of the year, you can change your Medicare Advantage plan. And if there is a drug change in there, that would be a good reason that you would want to try to change your Medicare Advantage plan anytime before March 31st. Now, it's more complicated than that. You're going to call our team, the MedicareFamily.com, and we're going to work with you to see if that is advantageous, because there might not be any other plans that allow you to see your doctors or your expensive specialists. So when we do the math, it might be cheaper to stay on the plan you're on and pay for cash for that medication. Or sometimes it's beneficial for you to move your Medicare Advantage plan and get a better drug plan. But again, you can only do that the first 3 months of the year. So let's say it's the 4th month of the year and you get that dreaded letter from the insurance company that says, yeah, we're not going to cover your expensive drug anymore. What are your options to move now? Well, you don't have any unless something very special happens to you, such as you just qualify for Medicaid, or you lost Medicaid, or you go into a nursing home. The most common special exception that would allow you to move your drug plan at any time of year is if you move. Now, you can't move county to county. If you move county to county, that would trigger your ability to move potentially out of your Medicare Advantage plan. But for a drug plan, it's statewide. Sometimes it's a couple states in a region. But if you move out of that state or out of that region, that triggers your ability. You have to get a new drug plan. So I've actually had people that moved their legal residence to their daughter's house so they could get a new drug plan because they were on they had cancer and their plan wouldn't cover it and they needed a special exception. And it was pretty extreme, but it was legal, right? I mean, it's a loophole. It means it is a legal gray area of the law. So that's something we can talk to you about as well. But in general, if nothing changes in your life and you're in April, May, June, the rest of the year, and your drug company is no longer offering your drugs, you're stuck. You cannot change until the end of the year, until the fall, the annual election period. Now that starts every year, October 15th through December 7th. So mark it on your calendar if you're one of those people at home right now that is going, I got to change my drug plan. Mark it on your calendar and do not try to do this the first week that it's available, the week of October 15th, because the government's website invariably crashes. And then you're like, what? Just don't do it. Do it the last week. Do it the last week of October. It's not going to change. Your new plan won't start until January 1st of the next year anyway. So as long as you do it between October 15th and December 7th, you're good to be on a new drug plan by January 1st. Now, let's say you're one of those people that doesn't like to procrastinate and you do it immediately in October. And then you go to the doctor in November and you get prescribed a new drug. You can change it between October 15th and December 7th. You can change that drug plan as many times as you want. The last one that you enroll in will be the one that goes into effect January 1st of the following year. So there's a lot more maneuverability in here in this system than most people are aware. And again, that's what our team does, the MedicareFamily.com. We're licensed in all 50 states. We work with dozens and dozens of different insurance companies. They pay us to help you. So our services to you are free. And a lot of people say, okay, just give me the best drug plan. I want the best. I'm either rich and I want the best drug plan, or I just want the best drug plan and I'll pay whatever it costs. I'll stretch my budget to get there. There's no best drug plan. The process is going to be the same for everybody that contacts us. We're going to ask you, what specific medications and dosages do you take? If you're on a brand name drug, do you insist on a brand name drug? Are you willing to switch to generic? So we need to know your whole list of drugs, and then we're going to tell you which plan covers your drugs at the lowest annual cost for the year. And that's the best drug plan. There's no other secret sauce in that. When we're recommending a Medicare supplement plan, there's a lot below the surface that we're going to go into, or that we bring our experience and our expertise to bear to give you a recommendation. Same with Medicare Advantage. There's a lot below the surface of the iceberg. You just see a little bit of ice above, but there's a big iceberg below. Not so with drug plans. Drug plans, what you see is what you get. It's very straightforward. Now, you might say, yeah, but I want a company with good service. Okay, well, don't we all? That is a little bit of a hurdle because service has very much declined for all drug plans. It used to be one company that especially notoriously had very bad service. And that's one of the things I'd say, don't even call them. Call our team. Let our client care team help you, because you're going to get frustrated. I had an 82-year-old lady yesterday screaming at us. She wasn't mad at us. She was mad at unnamed insurance company that you would know their name, because all of their customer service representatives are now in other countries, and there's a language barrier. It's hard to understand them. She's 82. She has some hearing issues. They didn't understand her. She was very frustrated. And she said, I want you to move me to a plan that has all their customer service in the United States. I don't have any. So I'm sorry. That's what they're doing to save money. So some plans do have much worse service than others. And as an insurance agent, you can ask any insurance agent in the nation. They can tell you immediately. We are all in agreement. There's also some that have excellent service. But really, I want to know what drugs you're taking, and that's the plan I want to put you on, and we'll deal with the service in the background. You have to understand that if you're taking an expensive drug, nobody wants to pay for it. Not this plan, not this plan, not this plan. Nobody wants to pay for it. So they will put up barriers, and a barrier to getting a Part D drug plan would be prior authorization. So that after your drug, if it says PA, that means they cover your drug, but only if your doctor requests formally to have that drug covered. And there's a little bit more hurdles than just asking nicely. Your doctor has to prove to the insurance company that you need this expensive drug. Your drug might require step therapy, another barrier. So it might say PA, ST, step therapy. So that means if I want to get Eliquis, the #1 blood thinner in America, I have to start off with the cheap one, warfarin. Warfarin they've used for like 100 years. It's dirt cheap blood thinner. And you're like, yeah, my doctor said that didn't really work. They moved me to Coumadin. A little bit more expensive, still dirt cheap. Didn't really work. Maybe another one. Before they say, I get Eliquis. I tried all the cheap ones. They didn't perform up to the standards that my doctor set. So then they will approve the expensive drug. Now, if I'm on drug company A for 2025, and I've gone through this whole rigmarole, and it's not quick. I've gone through it, and I finally got my drug, and then I switch to a new company during the annual election period at the end of the year. Will I have to go through that again? Yeah, you get to go through it again. Only if I change to a different insurance company? No. You might be with the same insurance company. You stay on that plan. It rolls over from a 2025 plan to a 2026 plan. You're staying on the same plan. You've already proven to this insurance company that your doctor requires this drug. You've already gone through the step therapy. They don't work. Your doctor's already been approved to prescribe you this drug, and you get to do it all again. It's very rare that they would give a lifetime prior approval, although it does exist. They could actually give you a 6-month prior approval and make you go through this whole thing in 6 months. But most of them will definitely make you go through it again next year. Why do they do this? It's a barrier to getting the expensive drugs. They want you to get the hint. They do not want to pay for the expensive drugs. They would prefer you try a cheaper drug. They would prefer you switch to a generic drug. So they're making it a hassle to get your drugs. That is not specific to one insurance company. That is all the drug insurance companies, whether you're buying a standalone drug plan because you have a Medicare supplement or whether you have a Medicare Advantage plan with drugs built in. They all do this same, these are the same games they all play to try to make it harder for you to get the expensive drugs. So you say, okay, fine, it's not worth the hassle. I'll just give up. Just give me whatever. So to remember, with your drug plan, the rules are going to be the same if you get it through a standalone plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. You're typically locked in for the year. They might change the drugs they cover. They might change the prices that you agreed to. Every year, the maximum cap will increase. Every year, the deductible will increase. This year, it's $590. Not every plan will charge you the deductible on every drug. But that's becoming more and more common. For 2026, the deductible goes up to $619. So the deductible keeps going up and up and up. In other words, for those people that are far below the $2,000 cap, your costs will go up. You'll be paying for more of your own expensive drugs off formulary. You'll be paying a higher deductible. You might not pay a higher monthly premium, which can be deceptive, but in general, your overall costs are going up. So remember, the annual election period comes every fall, and that's your chance to change your drug plan unless you have a special exception that happens during the year. Call our team if you need help. If you like this video, you might really like this video. Check it out. And we'd appreciate if you subscribe to our channel so you never miss a great video. We put out one every week. Check in the description below this video for a link to our cheat sheet on Social Security and Medicare. And you can also give us a comment if you have a specific question. Always feel free to call us or email us at the Medicare Family.